to Monty TV. Right now we're joined with the CEO of Prevoty, Julien Bellanger. I'll get in my French accent there. So Julien, tell me about Prevoty and what you guys are working on.
Thank you, Jackie. So what we're working on is application security at the enterprise layer. And so what I'm going to get to is there's three kinds of security. There's the network security, that's the perimeter around your assets. There's the endpoint security, that's how you get into the network. And then there is the protection of all your applications, all your data, the database layer. And that's what we're doing. So we're helping enterprises protect their website, their internal applications, whether they're web or mobile.
Why does the application need more protection?
So the application itself was supposed to be protected by the network. But when you think about it, it's a website, it's web-facing, it's consumer-facing, it's user-facing, and anyone can actually try to hack the application bypassing the network. So what we realize is that developers, when they're building applications, are writing lines of code. And these lines of code can contain vulnerabilities that hacker can exploit, which means that there is actually no security at the application layer today. There's nothing that protects the application other than the network, which doesn't understand the actual application context.
So you guys are putting a fence around the application, basically.
So we're putting security within the application. And so a good analogy is, think about a bouncer outside of a club. The bouncer is the network. And the bouncer is going to say you can come in if they know you, and you can't come in if they don't know you, or they know you and you shouldn't come in. But when you're bypassing the bouncer because you put a fake mustache or a hat and you look like different.
Fake ID,
whatever, and you're in the club, who's going to tell that you're doing something wrong or not? There's no one in the club. The bouncer is outside. So we're that security piece within the application. You cannot do application security if you're not within the application because you don't have the context and the understanding of what's happening in the application itself.
What happens when the hacker puts on the mustache and gets inside to the application? Where do you guys come in?
Today, enterprises don't have visibility into the actual application layer and the fact that they're under attacks at all time. Today, enterprises are doing vulnerability management, which means looking at the application from a code review perspective. We don't look at the code because we assume that the code is at all time vulnerable because it's something that you cannot scale, making the code secure. And so what we do is we make sure that the payload itself is safe to execute into the application code, whether the code is malicious or not.
Hackers are getting more and more sophisticated.
Absolutely.
How are you taking steps to prevent them from, getting smarter than you guys?
So traditionally, security has been relying on definitions, which is basically a lost cat and mouse game. If you rely on past definitions, the hackers are smarter, they have more time. They basically have an infinite amount of time and resources while you have a split second to react to a hack. And so what hackers do is they have the same database of definitions. So they just transform them, like getting the fake ID and going into the club. And so what you have to do is you can't rely on the past. You can't rely on definition and pattern matching to recognize a hack. What you have to do is understand the content the same way and in the same context that the application is going to execute it. If you can see that a split millisecond before the application executes the content or the query, you can understand what is malicious or not without relying on the past. So you can defeat the hacker in any case. You basically defeat the concept of zero-day exploits.
We use computers all the time and we're always logging into things. What don't people understand about what you guys do?
So when you use a computer and you're getting on a website, you're on what's called the client side. But everything is processed on the server side, so behind the scene if you want. On the client side, you can get malware, you can get a few things that are going to affect you. That's the data, that's the endpoint security. We're on the server side, and what people like everyone, and probably me a couple of years ago, don't understand is that it only takes one bit of malicious input to go within the application via an input box, a URL, for the entire application, the entire database, and the entire set of applications within a company to be breached. So that single input that can be malicious and that can execute within the application can take down a large enterprise.
Sounds good to me. Thank you, Julien Bellanger, with Prevoty, our guardian angels of the internet.
Thank you very much.